The biggest storyline of the NHL season has officially come to an end. The New York Rangers have invested their entire future for a chance to keep their season alive. But will this be enough to get the team back into a playoff spot? Mark Stone is the dirtiest player in the NHL, taking out Finland's best player for the Four Nations Face-Off tournament with this cheap play. Kirill Kaprizov's Hart Trophy season has officially come to an end, but what does that mean for the Minnesota Wild's playoff seeding? And lastly, the Utah Hockey Club have officially narrowed down a few options for their team's name, but a popular fan favorite one has been ruled out because of an outside brand. Just when you thought the NHL couldn't get any more entertaining, we are hit with a ton of crazy stories this week that have completely changed the landscape of the playoffs this year. Now, before we get into this video, this is a new style that I'm going to be adding to the channel, and I want to know what you guys think about this. This is going to be kind of like a weekly news show where I just update you on all of the headlines from the past week. So if you guys like it, comment below some stuff that you want to see in future episodes and support this video by liking it and subscribing to the channel. But with all that being said, let's talk about the biggest storyline from the past 48 hours, the New York Rangers trading for JTmiller. Now, this trade has been in the works for a while now, but this time around, it's officially done. The New York Rangers have acquired JTmiller, defenseman Erik Brannstrom, and defenseman Jackson Dorrington from the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for forward Filip Chytil, defenseman Victor Mancini, and a top 13 protected first-round pick in 2025. So let's start with the Vancouver Canucks, and I'm actually going to try to be as fair as I possibly can be here. I don't like this trade for them, but I understand what happened here. Obviously, all of the locker room drama is public knowledge, so you can't really get around that when your president is coming out and saying to the media that this is all true. Then you have the no move clause for JTmiller, where if he only wants to go to the New York Rangers, it prevents you from getting an adequate return back for him because you can't explore your options out with other teams. So to get Filip Chytil back, I think that should be a plus for this team, I guess. He's a little bit younger than JTmiller and has some upside. And if you can somehow turn around his development in a similar way that the Kraken have been able to with Kakko, then maybe you'll actually get a good player back in this return, along with a first-round pick, of course, that's protected, but it's at least a first-round pick that you can continue building around with. Now, the question really for the Vancouver Canucks is going to be what happens next. Do you trade Elias Pettersson? Do you go on and continue building around him and Quinn Hughes, which I think they should be doing? And I think that the Canucks kind of agree with all of us in that sense by making that Marcus Pettersson trade just a couple hours later. So yeah, it's a sticky situation for the Canucks. I'm not going to say that I love this trade because I don't think they got a good return back, but I understand some of the limitations that they had with this one and why they decided to move on from JT based on everything that happened. Now let's flip over to the New York Rangers, and this one I'm actually a little bit 50-50 on. Yes, I like the fact that they got JTmiller. I think he's going to improve the team this year and allow them to have a little bit more scoring and skill in their top six. But on the flip side, this year you've traded away two of your younger players, two guys who were supposed to be the future for this team in Kaapo Kakko and Filip Chytil. And while I understood a little bit about the Kaapo Kakko situation because you kept healthy scratching him and he didn't want to play for your organization anymore, the Filip Chytil thing, I kind of don't really get. Yes, you're bringing back JTmiller to help fix this season, but what if this is a complete failure? What if you miss the playoffs and now you're stuck with another older player who just doesn't really fit with your future, and in 2 to 3 years you're going to be back at the bottom of the league, rebuilding yet again? It's a tough situation for New York. Obviously, it's a bargain move. You got JTmiller for a guy who was playing on your third line, but I think Filip Chytil had a lot of upside, and I think New York fans were really happy with this player and expected him to be a big part of their future. Him going over to the Vancouver Canucks, hopefully he can turn out like Kaapo Kakko, get a few more chances, and actually develop into the player that New York thought he could become. But yeah, it's a weird trade where you almost want to say New York is the biggest winner, but I feel like you can't judge this trade until we see what happens with the playoffs this year. If New York makes it, how deep they go. I think there's a lot of questions that need to be answered with this one. But nevertheless, the drama is over in Vancouver. New York has themselves a player that they've been wanting for a while now. So let's see how everything pans out for both of these teams moving forward. Next story, Kirill Kaprizov is set to have surgery and will be out for a minimum of 4 weeks for the Minnesota Wild with a lower body injury. According to GM Bill Guerin, it's not a season-ending injury, but it will put him on the shelf for a little while. He also mentioned that Kirill is really upset by this news. He's such a team-focused guy, and I think he knows what he has. He knows he could probably get by in games and try to help out his team. But but he doesn't like what's going on. Him at 60% is better than most players in the league, but he wants to be at 100% and help us play as long as we can this year, and I agree with him. Obviously a tough go for Kirill. When you're having a career year, it's disappointing to see you have to miss even more time with injury, but I think this is the right time to do it. There's still a lot of time left in the season. You can get the surgery, recover, and have a few games under your belt before the playoffs start. This might impact the Wild's seeding in the playoffs with them being 7-5-0 without Kaprizov this year, but I still believe that they have enough to get themselves into the postseason, and with a fully healthy Kirill Kaprizov, I think this team is much better off than a Kaprizov at 60 or 70%. So get well soon, Kaprizov. Tough go for Wild fans, but hopefully they can acquire a few pieces at the deadline and solidify this roster a bit more for a postseason run. Next story, a bit of a controversial one. Vegas Golden Knights versus the Dallas Stars, and Mark Stone ends up diving into Miro Heiskanen and hurting his knee, taking him out of the game, and eventually the Four Nations face-off tournament. Now, obviously, there's two sides to this story. On one hand, you have Dallas Stars fans who are just completely screaming on the internet saying that Mark Stone is a dirty player, he deserves a suspension, and all of that. But on the other hand, I think if you actually watch the footage back, the person you should be blaming here a little bit is Roope Hintz. Now, if you look at this play closely, Roope Hintz tries to get Mark Stone a little bit off his balance by tapping him with his stick, just getting in his face to move him off of Miro Heiskanen. But in a lazy attempt, he swings it at the skate blade of Mark Stone, which is why he falls off of balance and ends up making that dive into Miro Heiskanen. Now, I'm not saying that Mark Stone doesn't deserve any of the blame. Obviously, he still could have had the wherewithal to get out of the way of Miro Heiskanen to prevent an injury, especially as a guy who's constantly dealing with injuries himself. He should be acknowledging this completely. But I don't think it deserves any suspension because I feel like mostly this is Roope Hintz's fault for getting his stick into the blade of Mark Stone. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but I feel like you have to be smarter with what you're doing with your stick. And the only true victim here is Heiskanen, Team Finland, and the Dallas Stars, who now lose their best defenseman. He doesn't get to represent his team in the Four Nations face-off tournament, and who knows how much time he's going to miss and how this will impact not only the regular season, but the postseason for the Dallas Stars. But I kind of want to hear what you guys think about this controversial play. Do you think that this is completely Mark Stone's fault, or do you think that Roope Hintz deserves a bit of the blame? Let me know in the comments below and let's discuss this one a bit further because this is definitely one of the more interesting topics from the week. Now, real quick, this is hot news for me. I was recording this video and I saw a report saying that the San Jose Sharks and Dallas Stars have officially made a trade, sending Mikael Granlund to Dallas, and I'm not sure what the package includes yet, but if it's available by the time I'm editing this, I will throw it right here on the screen. But just my initial thoughts, I think this is a great move for Dallas. Obviously, a lot of these moves are happening before the Four Nations face-off in case there's some sort of injury that happens at this tournament. But with Dallas having Tyler Seguin out and needing some help at the center position, I think Mikael Granlund is going to slot in perfectly there. And if Seguin can come back by the playoffs, Dallas is going to have some insane depth at their center position. This is hopefully going to be a fresh start for Granlund, who again has been playing well with the Sharks, and after being involved in that whole Carlson deal and being considered a distressed asset, I'm happy to see that his career has turned around and that he's going to get some valuable minutes with the Dallas Stars. So again, this is just a quick take. Let me know what your initial reactions are about this trade, and of course when all of the details are out, you can comment about that too. Last story of the week, the Utah Hockey Club has Yeti's nickname rejected by the US Patent Office. According to the Patent Office, they refused the club's attempt to trademark Utah Yetis because of its similarities with another brand, Yeti Coolers. The brand was concerned that the similarities would cause confusion when their potential customers were looking up their products because of how close they are in names. In response to this, Utah has come out saying that they want fans to kind of help them pick a new name, with a couple of finalists being, of course, the Utah Hockey Club, if they want to keep that name, the Utah Mammoth, and then the Utah Outlaws. This is a bit of sad news because the Yetis was such a cool idea for this team and the jerseys and mascots would have been perfect, but I do feel like Utah is doing a great thing here. They're still trying to get their community involved and let them have a say in how they build this hockey club. Like I said, it is unfortunate, but I still think that these names are pretty cool for this team, and there have even been some designs that have come out showing what a potential jersey could look like with the Mammoth. Now, personally, I think the Mammoth would be the best if we can have the Yetis, but I still think Outlaws and a couple other names that have come out like the Blizzard could be potential options. But what's your favorite name for the Utah Hockey Club? Do you think that they should go with the Mammoth, the Outlaws, or something else? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. But these are the biggest stories from this week in the NHL. If you guys enjoyed this style of video, go ahead and let me know in the comments below what you thought about it and some future stuff that I could add to make this more fun and engaging for you guys. Make sure you like this one and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Thank you guys as always for watching. I will see you in the next episode.